Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there. Yeah, this is where we take the source material you give us, could be articles, reports, notes, whatever, and really boil it down.
Exactly. We cut through all the noise, try to pull out the absolute must-know info for you, get you the core insights fast.
We do the sifting, you get the key takeaways, maybe some surprising bits, and just the context you need, hopefully enjoyably too.
And today, wow, we are tackling a giant, a truly global brand, recognized pretty much everywhere.
Mm-hmm. McDonald's.
Right. We're pulling insights straight from the source specifically, excerpts from their Form 10K annual report for 2024.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
Using only the text from these excerpts, we want to understand, how they say they performed in 2024.
What strategy do they highlight? What numbers do they want us to see?
And crucially, what they say about their plans moving forward, all based just on this text.
Okay, so the report kicks off by setting the scene a bit, reminds us of their history.
Yeah, that Ray Kroc moment, opening the first restaurant way back in April 1955.
Almost 70 years ago now, and they state they're still living that legacy, aiming to define leadership in their industry.
But they don't gloss over the tough stuff. The text definitely acknowledges 2024 wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
No, they specifically mention navigating significant headwinds.
Things like inflation hitting everyone's wallets, geopolitical events causing ripples everywhere, and, those ongoing food safety concerns that are always top of mind.
They even make a point in the text saying there were times in 2024 when it felt like McDonald's was part of major news stories almost daily.
Which, that just speaks volumes about their sheer scale. Right.
Yeah.
And that cultural relevance, for better or worse sometimes.
So how did they say they handled all that pressure?
Well, their stated approach was about staying focused, really listening to customers, to the market, and moving fast. Urgently, even.
To overcome those challenges and keep building trust.
Exactly.
So, okay, how did they manage? The report suggests it wasn't just luck.
Not at all. They credit their resilience, their ability to navigate, to something they call the Macdonalds system.
The system. Okay, what is that, according to them?
So, as they define it in this text, it's not just corporate HQ. It's huge. It's over 2 million employees and crew members globally.
Wow.
Plus their independent franchisees, their global suppliers. It's presented as this, unified force under the golden arches.
And this system is what they credit with pushing boundaries, innovating.
And deepening that customer connection, that passion for the brand they talk about.
And according to the source material, this system, combined with their strategy, delivered some pretty big results. They highlight one number in particular.
Yeah, the big one. Global system-wide sales topping $130 billion in 2024.
130 billion. That's a lot of burgers and fries.
It really is. What's interesting is how they frame it in the report. They don't just drop the number.
Right.
They explicitly say it underscores their strength and relevance despite facing all those headwinds we mentioned. It's positioned as proof the system works under pressure.
Gotcha. So the blueprint behind this performance, they say, is their strategy called Accelerating the Arches, or ATA.
Yep. They describe ATA as their engine for growth, and it's built around these core priorities they call the MCD pillars.
MCD. Okay, let's break those down. Starting with M, marketing, what's the focus there?
So the report emphasizes two main things for marketing: fostering stronger customer connections, and, importantly, reclaiming leadership in value and affordability.
Ah, value. Makes sense with the inflation headwinds.
Exactly. The text suggests they saw a clear need, an opportunity really, to double down on value, keep affordability front and center for customers.
And they didn't do this alone. The report mentions working closely with franchisees.
Right, a joint effort, prioritizing things like everyday affordable price menus and meal bundles. The idea being this strengthens brand equity, too.
And they give examples.
They do. Specific ones mentioned are McSmart in Germany and France, Value in Canada, and, of course, the $5 meal deal here in the U.S.
Okay, so value was big, but marketing wasn't only about price, right?
No, definitely not. The source also talks a lot about elevating creative excellence and scaling ideas globally.
Connecting with the next generation, being part of culture, that kind of thing.
Precisely. They want McDonald's at the center of culture. This is where they mention those, viral moments.
Like the Grimace birthday shake, that was everywhere for a bit.
It was. That, and they mention culturally relevant global campaigns like McDonald's and things like the collector's edition cups.
So the goal with these campaigns, according to the text,
it seemed to be demonstrating their ability to connect, spark conversation online and off, and ultimately drive engagement. It's more than just selling food. It's being part of the zeitgeist.
Okay, makes sense. Moving from M to C, then core menu.
Right. And the report is pretty clear here. The core menu is still the heart of the business. Classic favorites, but also new stuff.
Innovation on the classics.
Yeah, they mentioned rolling out their Best Burger Initiative improvements to the core burgers now in over 80 markets.
80 markets,
Yeah.
wow.
And they're testing new things too. The source highlights piloting the Big Arch.
Big Arch. A new, larger burger.
That's how they describe it, yeah. Piloting in Portugal, Germany, and Canada.
Interesting. What else on the core menu?
Chicken, a huge focus. They state they're building on their chicken reputation.
How so?
Continued expansion of McCrispy, that's now in over 70 markets.
Oh.
And promoting the Chicken Big Mac.
And they think this is working.
Well, they credit both of those moves with helping grow their chicken market share.
And more chicken to come.
Apparently so. The report promises more excitement, specifically mentioning the return of the snack wrap in several markets.
Oh, people have been asking for that one.
Right. And launching a new chicken strip offering too.
So the core menu strategy, based on this text, is kind of a mix. Refine the old, test the new, push hard on key areas like chicken.
Yeah, that sums it up well.
Okay, that brings us to the D in MCD,
Right.
which they actually break down into the 4 Ds.
Right. Digital, delivery, drive-through, and development. And the report says they're doubling down here.
Let's start with digital. What are they highlighting?
They claim their digital footprint is unmatched in the industry and still growing. Key stat here, scaling one of the world's biggest loyalty programs,
How big?
reached over 175 million active users across 60 markets in 2024.
175 million.
Yeah,
That's a massive direct line to customers.
it really is. And they also talk about redefining convenience through digital, specifically mentioning the rollout of Ready on Arrival.
Ah, so you order ahead and it's ready right when you pull up.
Mhm.
Streamlining pickup.
Exactly. Making it faster, more seamless. They're deploying that across their top 6 markets.
Okay, what about the last DIN development building stores?
Yep, they state they hit their 2024 opening targets, adding new restaurants worldwide.
And they connect this to just serving more people.
Pretty much. Serving more customers wherever they are. And they've got a big ambition here mentioned in the report.
Did you
Staying on track to hit 50,000 restaurants globally by the end of 2027.
50,000. That's significant expansion plan.
It is. Serious growth.
So beyond those MCD pillars and the 4 Ds, the source talks about like broader modernization efforts.
Yeah, modernizing the whole experience.
Oh,
For customers,
right.
but also internally for the company.
How so? Like technology?
Definitely implementing new tech, new ways of working,
Mhm.
trying to drive speed, efficiency, innovation across the board.
And for the customer.
They talk about reimagining the customer experience for profitable engagement. Think targeted, personalized interactions.
Okay. And internally. Improving things for franchisees and suppliers.
Yeah, implementing new company systems and capabilities to be, as they put it, a better partner to them.
This modernization also seems reflected in how they've structured their teams.
Right. The report details this evolution. Their customer experience team, MCX, became a new, broader group, the restaurant experience team.
Led by Jill Macdonald. And what does this new team cover?
A lot. It brings together operations, supply chain, franchising development, restaurant design, delivery, and even Speedy Labs.
Speedy Labs. Sounds like they're R&D for restaurants.
It seems like it, yeah. They're innovation hub for operations. Plus, they added 3 new global category management teams for beef, chicken, and beverages desserts.
So bringing all these pieces together, what's the stated goal?
They say it's to enable an end-to-end approach to the restaurant. They believe this will drive growth, specifically guest count-led growth.
And improve the experience not just for customers, but for the crews and franchisees, too.
That's the idea presented in the text, yes.
Yeah.
A win-win-win.
The report also flags some leadership changes within this new structure.
It does. Warren Anderson promoted to Chief Global Supply Chain Officer. His role includes focusing on supply chain resilience, food safety, efficiency, sustainability. Kind of the whole gamut.
Okay.
And Manu Steigert takes over as President, International Operated Markets, or IOM. That's a huge part of their business.
So leadership aligning with these strategic priorities.
Seems to be the message.
Now, the source material also makes a point of talking about people and community impact.
Yeah, they connect it back to that 3 legs of the stool idea. Employees, franchisees, suppliers, although the examples here focus mostly on employees and suppliers.
What achievements do they list for 2024?
They highlight a few specific things they want shareholders to notice. Strong leadership diversity, over 30% of U.S. leaders from underrepresented groups.
Okay.
Achieving gender pay equity globally at all levels. Meeting their U.S. supplier diversity spend goal 25% 3 years early.
3 years ahead of schedule, that's significant.
It is. And recruiting their largest pipeline of registered job applicants, including the largest number from underrepresented groups in recent years.
So they're stressing this commitment to inclusion.
Very much so. They say their approach might have evolved, but that core commitment remains strong.
And how do they tie this back to the business?
They frame it as part of their purpose, to feed and foster communities. The implication is these actions aren't just good socially, they build a better business and a more trusted brand.
They also mention a specific partnership anniversary.
Right, the 50th anniversary with Ronald McDonald House Charities, RMHC, highlighting its impact, serving millions of families just in 2024.
Okay, so let's talk shareholder value. How does this excerpt address that? Because it's a 10K aimed at investors.
It's interesting. The text does address shareholders directly, but it focuses almost entirely on the strategy and the overall business performance as the means of creating value.
So you're saying you don't see specific mentions of things like dividend numbers or share buyback amounts in this section?
Not in this part of the text, no. Instead, the report talks about creating value by building on their legacy, using their advantages, size, scale, brand relevance.
Executing the ATA strategy, having the right mindset.
Exactly. And relying on the power of the three-legged stool, that whole system concept again.
So these strategic elements, the operational success, that's presented as the driver of shareholder value.
That's how it reads in this excerpt, yes. It's about the fundamental strength and growth of the business, driven by their strategy and execution, rather than detailing specific financial return mechanisms like dividends in this particular section.
They're looking ahead to 2025 and beyond.
The source says the plan is to build on the 2024 momentum, keep embracing innovation, keep driving value for customers, and keep enhancing that experience.
So it sounds like from their perspective in this text, the strategic framework, the operational muscle, the system, the modernized structure, those are the keys.
That's definitely the picture painted here. Those are the levers they believe will generate value and hit those future goals like the 50,000 restaurants.
Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've dug into these excerpts from the Macdonald's 10K. What are the main takeaways?
Well, first they acknowledged a tough 2024, but attributed their ability to navigate it, their resilience, directly to the strength of that McDonald's system.
Right, the employees, franchisees, suppliers working together. And their core strategy.
Yeah, built on those MCD pillars.
Yep.
M for marketing, focused on value and cultural relevance. C for core menu innovation, especially pushing chicken.
And D for doubling down on the 4Ds, digital, delivery, drive-through development. And this strategy, they claim, drove that huge $130 billion plus in system-wide sales number.
They're also actively modernizing tech, team structures like that new restaurant experience group, trying to integrate everything better.
And they made sure to highlight commitments to diversity, inclusion, community impact, framing it as core to their purpose and brand.
Absolutely. And the overall message going through this text is one of confidence. They state they feel well-positioned for what's next, leaning heavily on their scale, brand, strategy, and that system.
It paints a picture of a massive, complex machine, really, trying to adapt strategically to pressures while pushing hard on growth.
Definitely. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over, based just on what we've read here.
Okay, what's that?
How might that inherent tension play out for McDonald's in the next few years? The tension between needing to really drive value for customers who are feeling the pinch.
Like with those affordable meal deals.
Right. While at the same time investing massively in future growth, think digital, delivery, and especially that huge goal of 50,000 restaurants by 2027.
Can they successfully balance pushing affordability now with funding that massive expansion for tomorrow?
Especially when, according to this report, their plan seems to rely so heavily on leveraging their existing scale and brand relevance to somehow make both happen simultaneously. It's a big balancing act.